My name is Helen. I'm 45 years old working mother. I graduate with an associate's degree and work for a local real estate agency. I'm a professional with 25 years of experience. I have ups and downs over the past 30 years. I married twice and had one child. My first marriage was in my 20s. But my ex-husband was involved in a tragic car crash and passed away. I was so devastated that I thought about following him. At such time, my current husband, Ken, who was 2 years my junior, consoled me and gave me hope to move forward. He was the worst salesman working in the same office as me. But I thought he was cute. Well, the cuteness I saw in him disappeared and turned into unreliability and triviality after we got married. He comforted and confided his love in me when I was done. I'm in love with you, Helen. Please, marry me. I want to make you happy again. It was easy to be lured by his tenderness when I was in the dark hole. 3 years after my ex-husband passed away, I finally accepted his continuous proposals and was married to him. 70 years have passed since then. Although I wasn't able to have a child with my ex, I had a son with Ken. My son, Tom, was already 15 years old. He was a high school junior, working hard on his project for national science research competitions. I had a turbulent life, but I found happiness once again. At least that was what I thought until a year ago. The change came when we had to decide what to do with Ken's mother. I want my mom to move in with us. I worried about her being alone and lonely at home. Ken suggested when his father passed away. We have a spare bedroom we hardly use, It can be her room. I contemplated. It was true that there was a spare bedroom rarely used, except for occasional guests, but if I had to live with my mother-in-law, it was a different story. I didn't want to create a disturbance in Tom's study either. If my mom could take up on the chores, you'll have more time to take better care of Tom. She can even prepare late-night snacks for him, he said simply. When Tom stayed back at school with his research team, he always had to eat fast food for dinner. Some mothers packed or delivered healthy meals to their kids. I work every day, so I always felt bad for not being able to support him like the other moms. If Karen could do that, Tom wouldn't have been happy for sure. Not only in a calculating sense, I could sympathize with the loss of her husband. I knew too well how they felt to be left behind. I wanted to ease her grief by letting her live with us. And then, Karen moved out of her rental apartment and moved in with us one day. However, it was such a mistake. As soon as she moved in, both she and Ken changed drastically. Here, darling, open your mouth. Thank you, Mommy. Karen took a spoonful of mashed potato and brought it to Ken's mouth. Yummy. You always liked mashed potatoes since you were a kid, sweetie. I understood her love for her son, which she generously gave to him. But was this acceptable for a 70-year-old mother to do to a 44-year-old son? She fed Ken like a baby. Ew. Ever since Karen moved in, Ken turned into a self-centered and selfish brat. Helen, give some of your mashed potatoes to him. It's his favorite food. No way. Why should I? Any kind of potato dish was my favorite food too. Gee, can you even share the bit with your husband? Such an awful wife. Whatever I wasn't gonna budge. You see, Mommy, she always treats me like nothing. She acts superior to me just because she's a bit older. Before Karen moved in, he called her Ma, but now it's Mommy. Ew. A man in his 40s was calling his mother Mommy? Even our 50-year-old son called me Mom. I felt nauseous and my appetite flew out of the window. Come on, give some to him. Wait. Karen just dived her spoon into my mashed potato and impolitely scooped up a chunk. Here you go, darling. Yay, thank you, Mommy. Ew, it was revolting to watch. The exchange between the brat and his mom was so ridiculous that I rolled my eyes. I wonder if they will soon start holding hands in public. It wasn't only their relationship was weird. When Karen just moved in, she must have been wearing sheepskin. In a short while, she shaded, and her true nature was revealed. Look, Helen, the bathroom floor is dirty. You can't even do your chore properly. She was supposed to take over the housework. Contrary to her promise, she did nothing but watch TV in her room every day. And she criticized the way I did things. If you don't like it, please, you can do it yourself. I'm busy with work too. If I retorted, she immediately tried to get Ken on her side. Darling, it's terrible. I was just telling her out of my kindness. Of course, she took her side. You need to listen to the elder. If I need to listen to her, I was older than Ken too. She did absolutely nothing to help with the housework, and of course, she never even tried to prepare Tom's late-night snacks. On the contrary, she disturbed him while he was focusing on his research. Karen turned on the volume when Tom's working. It's too loud for him to concentrate. She didn't flinch even thought I complained harshly. What's wrong with you? My hearing is bad. Let me watch it as loud as I want. She countered and then, he's not focusing hard enough if TV bothers him. I'll tell him. Tom, come here for a sec. She made an illogical accusation against him. Stop it! I tried my best, but she never cooperated to reduce the noise. Tom had no choice but to work late at school or his teammates. Karen didn't like that. She kept calling Tom's cell phone that Ken gave her without his permission. Tom, why are you still out so late? Come back right now. Such unreasonable treatment wasn't good for his education and morals. When I took the phone away from her, she started yelling at me. It's your fault to begin with. Your lack of discipline makes him too carefree. I'll teach you a lesson along with Tom. I ran away from Karen, who was hysterically screaming at me, and took refuge with my neighbor. No point hiding from me. She barged into some of my neighbors and ended up having a quarrel with them. Seriously? It was the worst idea to let her move in. I regretted the decision so much. But even if I kicked her out, she didn't have a place to go. She could go to her sibling's house, which was hours away from the nearest town in the middle of nowhere. She strongly refused that she would never live there. Her retirement was meager, and she didn't want to work on their farm to survive. Nevertheless, the situation as it was, our family was going to be ruined. I made up my mind and demanded, please move out of this house. I will find you a place to live through my work. Karen was stunned at first, but then she smirked. Who decided such a thing? Ken hasn't mentioned anything to me, right, darling? I don't have to move out, do I? She cooed as she leaned against him. You know, we need to put some effort to be patient living together. He took her side. She's also been putting up with a lot of things. You two should be more considerate. It's terrible of you to just kick her out. What kind of consideration did she ever show? I was determined to have her leave. Then she mentioned something odd. If you don't want to live with me, you leave. This is Ken's house anyway. Leave Tom with us and get out of here. What? I couldn't fathom what she was telling me. I was the one to leave? From this house? He worked hard to buy this place. You might want to argue that you work too, but I doubt that you make enough to buy such a house. You took an advantage of being older and looked on him. But I won't let you do that anymore. Ken was fidgety next to his mother, who was yelling and spitting in my face. Darling, do you agree with me? Well... Before he could continue, she interrupted. Why do you think I let him marry an older and used woman like you in the first place? She suddenly changed the subject. Only to have you bear a child. Otherwise, I would have never agreed to this marriage, you ex-widowed used woman. She called me used? I couldn't believe it. Wait, how rude are you to call me that? It's the truth, isn't it, darling? I expected him to finally scold his mother, but it was wishful thinking. Well, Mom used to say I need to get married and have a son with whoever. To be honest, I did think it would be easier to lure a sad widow woman. He said without a care in the world. I would have preferred a younger girl, but she said it was better to have an older woman who was out of her prime. Are you serious? I was flabbergasted. The way he approached and proposed to me, everything was orchestrated by Karen. It didn't matter who, as long as she could be a tool to produce a child. Tom's already grown up, so you're not needed anymore. Leave him behind, and you get out of this house, she said triumphantly. I will discipline him from now on, and raise him to be an impeccable man. I saw my 17 years of marriage burn to ashes in my head. Ken's affection and Karen's kindness were all fakes. The realization devastated me beyond belief. I decided to get a divorce then. But before I could mention the word, something happened. Karen's relative passed away, and there was going to be a funeral. Her relative also lived in the middle of nowhere, so it was impossible to return on the same day. There were many customs in the area, and it was going to take at least a week to finish. Ken was able to take a paid leave even at the last moment of notice. Since he was the worst salesman in the company, there was no difference if he was there or not. Incredible. I was impressed in a weird way. Karen wanted Tom to come along, but this research team was having the final test on the model that week. I will bring him over once he is done. Well, I guess no other choice. You don't really need to come, though. As usual, her sarcasm never stopped. Tom will eventually inherit all the land, so he needs to meet everyone and learn the customs there. I thought whatever you say in my head and kept quiet. I was grateful for the greatest opportunity to act on my plan. Ken and Karen left to attend the funeral. 3 days later, it was the day of burial. Tom was done with his project, but we decided to stay put. Then I sent a text to Ken during the funeral. I'm divorcing you. Tom is coming with me. Goodbye. I guessed. He was too surprised to understand the seriousness. triple question mark, and only replied with 3 question marks. Karen called me 4 days after the text. "Hello? Are you guys back? You were gone for a bit longer." I answered. "Where are you?" She started ranting right away. "We can't get in the house. Have you changed the lock while we were away?" They were flustered to find that their key didn't open and locked outside with their baggage. I responded calmly. "That's right. I changed the lock. I can't let weird people get inside freely, you know." My spiteful tone irritated her. "What do you mean? Are you saying I'm weird?" She was outraged. "Not only you, but Ken too." "How come no one is at home? Where's Tom?" "He's studying next to me. It's a small apartment, but he says he can concentrate better without the noise." Tom was taking a break at that moment. He had to take a proper rest to study hard. I wasn't gonna be fastidious about it. We already moved out. It's so convenient to work for a real estate company. We found a nice place we could move in right away. As a real estate agent, I knew many owners of houses and apartments. "You are very welcome to move out, but how dare you change the lock? It's Ken's house." She still hadn't grasped reality. "That's not his house, it's mine." "What?" She was so astounded that she choked on her words. The 3-bedroom house was too big for a single person, but perfect for a family of 3. We were living in harmony until Karen came along. "Did you really think the income of the worst salesman like your son can buy such a nice house in that area?" I added insult to injury. "I plan to sell it. I don't want to keep it and have you guys barge in on us." I continued ranting. Karen had lost her words after I called her son the worst salesman. He'll receive divorce papers in a few days. Even if I ask for alimony, he won't be able to pay up with his low salary. Let's just get it over with quickly. Then she said something unexpected. "Yeah, right. You don't understand, do you? When a couple gets divorced, their assets must be divided between them. Half of the sales will go to Ken." She tried hard to keep her wits about her. "Karen, I don't have to share the assets I had prior to the marriage." I laughed at her shallow wisdom. "I bought it with my ex-husband's life insurance." She was speechless at this unexpected provision of the law. "Do you get it? That's that then." I was about to hang up when stubborn Karen started screaming. "Then return Tom to us! I'm not giving up the custody of my only grandson!" I turned the speaker on and let Tom join the conversation. "Hey Tom, your grandma says she wants to live with you. She says you can take her inheritance. What do you want to do?" He threw a magazine he was reading and said, "No way, I can't. That's out of the question. She and Dad are really weird. I shudder to think what she would do to me if I became the heir of her family." I turned the speaker off and said, "Here you go. He doesn't want to be the heir, so please find someone else. Although a son like yours, over 40, low income, and mommy's boy, will have a hard time finding a woman. Well then, take care." Ken and I got divorced. The lawyer I hired through my work connection managed to collect a good amount of child support in one lump sum. Ken supposedly consulted with different lawyers, but all had refused to take the case. It wasn't the kind of case he could have won in a lawsuit, and everyone knew he was the worst salesman. The house was sold on good terms using the full advantage of my career. Ken and Karen had lost their house. Ken shed mommy's boy and no longer lived with Karen. She had no choice but to move to the middle of nowhere and was forced to work on the farm. "I hate Paige the most in the world," she used to declare, and I felt good to imagine her crying every day. "I'll continue to work hard until my retirement. A good life with a full pension is just around the corner."